Hello and welcome back to a podcast where I talk about going from corporate drone to corporate dropout. You know it, you love it. Welcome back to Chaos and Fuckery. Now, Saturdays, as you guys know, if you've been following along, are my topical episodes with things related to my business, the industries related to my business, and just general topics that I think impact small business, impact me as a small business owner, or I just want to yap about. So last week we did a state of the fitness industry and how it's failing people who genuinely need its help. And this week I want to talk about the other side of being a fit gamer, the gaming industry. Because at the time of recording this, we had the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct this week. We found out prices, we found out launch games, we found out new components, new upgrades to the Switch from the original Switch that was released 7 or so years ago now. And that was crazy. It was a crazy Direct. While I expected a few things more than just upgrades to old Switch 1 games when it came to the game releases, the fact that there is a FromSoft exclusive to the Switch is wild. The fact that we're getting a Bloodborne style game on a Switch or a Nintendo console as a whole is insane. But the Switch is causing up some controversy right now. As a creator in the gaming space, who my gaming channel will be mostly based on Nintendo content, buying the Switch 2 is going to be not only a business expense, but a key component to my future gaming channel. And the orange buffoon in the White House just pissed off Japan so that we might not get pre-orders. And that might be an issue. Not because, I need it day one, which as much as I would love it day one, I don't need it day one. I have enough content leading into where the Switch 2 will release that I can survive. The problem is the aftermath. The problem is that if this console is anything like the original Switch or the PS5, not even pre-orders will save you from not getting the console. The stock was so low with the previous 2 console releases that they were nearly impossible to get. And I am worried that the Switch 2 is not going to be any different. I am also worried about the price tag that will now be almost certainly upped thanks to the orange buffoon and his idiotic tariffs. You've now pissed off the gaming community, Trump, and I just don't. Why? I have waited years for this console. My original Switch is falling apart because I use it so often. And as a small business owner that is related to gaming and has to produce gaming content, I kind of need that console. And you're gonna tell me that not only has Nintendo now come out and said at the time of recording, if this changes by the time this releases, I apologize, but at the time of recording, Nintendo has said the US market is not getting pre-orders because we've got to react to this whole tariff thing. So not only is the slightly ridiculous $500 price tag that is the Nintendo Switch 2 already probably going to go up, but we're not going to get fucking pre-orders? I don't have a shot in fucking hell of getting this console without pre-orders. And even then, I still might not get it. Yes, as a previous Switch owner, we do get priority for pre-orders, but not if the US market's not getting them. On top of that, the console was already announced to be anywhere between $470 and $500, depending on which console you get. That was before Liberation Day tariffs. Are we going to see a Nintendo Switch console cost more than buying a PlayStation 5? Because if so, that is going to be insane. Also, with these tariffs, are we going to see an increase in the digital price of games? Because they've already announced that one is $80 and one is $90. To get the physical cartridge, it's going to be $90 for a Nintendo game, which is absolutely absurd when you've got things like Steam. That is absurd. There is no reason for Nintendo to increase the $80 digital game, because it's a digital good, for anything more than corporate greed. And don't get me wrong, I love Nintendo. I am not anti-Nintendo by any stretch of the imagination. I will buy this console even if it's $600 because I have always, alongside my PlayStation and now my PC, I have always, as a gamer, owned a Nintendo console. I have occasionally owned an Xbox, but I have always owned a PlayStation and a Nintendo console, whether it was the Wii. I was even one of the rare few that owned a Wii U, unfortunately. I bought my Switch. At one point, my husband and I both had Switches, and I would buy the Switch too, almost certainly. I had a 3DS, I had Game Boy. I have been a Nintendo kid for as long as I remember. I am going to Epic Universe when it opens purely... I mean, there are many things about Epic Universe I'm excited for, but Super Nintendo World was the original thing that got me excited about that park. Nintendo has been a part of my life since I was a tiny kid, as you can see by the Pokemon in my background. So the fact that the Orange Buffoon in the White House is currently limiting my ability, not only as a business owner, to get something that I need to continue to create content, but also just as a regular consumer to acquire this Switch 2, which they have said on multiple occasions will run out of stock like the PS5 and original Switch releases, is angering me at a level that I do not think people can understand. I need the console to stay sane. Genuinely. My Switch is falling apart. I need new Joy-Cons for it because my drift is so bad. I keep dying if I don't have my hands on the controller the minute I reload in. So yeah, I have used and abused my Switch and I need the Switch too. And yes, I understand the difference between a need and a want between all you crazies. He's saving the country. Why do you care about a gaming console? You're in your you're an adult. That console's for kids. Shut the fuck up. Adults are allowed to enjoy video games too, and adults are allowed to enjoy Nintendo. I would be willing to bet that more than half of the people at Epic Universe when it opens in Super Nintendo World will be fucking adults without children. It's like people that complain about Disney adults that go without kids. Let us have our fun. Anyways, so you've got the Switch debacle going on right now. That's the newest console releasing into the world. People are complaining about the price tag, and you know, Orange Buffoon's tariffs are making it so we might not even get pre-orders, and that price tag will likely go up. Love that for myself as a gaming creator and other gaming creators as well. Love that, totally. But guess what Orange Buffoon's tariffs also impact in the gaming world? Ability to upgrade our PCs. Graphics cards are going to be impossible to find here shortly. It's gonna be back to the 2020. We have no way of getting them and you have to scalp them and there's no way you're getting them at MSRP. Levels of insanity when it comes to upgrading our PCs for gaming and new games that are coming on the scene. We are not going to be able to find what we need to build our PCs. And if we can, it's going to be triple the price they were when we bought them. I'm thinking about buying just all 4 RAM slots for my PC so that I don't have to upgrade anything for a very long time. Because everything else is pretty new. It's not new, but it's new enough that I can survive for a while until this fuckery is done. Gamers are losing pre-orders for the Switch because of this buffoonery that are reciprocal tariffs. So you got that. We're losing pre-orders in theory. We are losing the ability to upgrade our PCs to really enjoy the games on PCs, but also that impacts things like engineering because graphics cards are super important to being able to do, you know, design testing and everything else. So it's not just gamers that impacts, it impacts your corporate industries as well, but gamers specifically, if we're focusing on the gaming industry is going to suffer dramatically from everything that's going on right now. On top of that, you've got TikTok going away, or, you know, on another extension. They're not really going away. As of this moment, it's another 75-day extension. Yay, whiplash. We love that. We love tech being strifled. But you've got a lot of streamers on TikTok that, where will they go when that inevitably goes away? When you don't have a live streaming platform for vertical content, where are they going to go? They're going to flock to YouTube and Twitch with the rest of us that are already struggling for discoverability and, you know, to have a voice in the gaming world. You're going to get more misogyny from right-wing pigs that say that women find it easier to stream, or that women get more audiences in the streaming world for whatever idiotic reason, when in reality, women get more harassment than male streamers in the gaming and streaming world. So our hardware's fucked. We're not going to be able to get any new consoles or any new PC parts or really anything to do the hobby we enjoy because, you know, we can't. They're all imports. Chips, cooling, it's all imports. Even if you're buying it from an American company like fucking Lenovo's not an American company, I'm almost sure. You get what I mean, right? So hardware's fucked. The streaming industry is going to be even more oversaturated than it already is, because the likelihood is we get to a point where there's not as many platforms to spread us across, or Amazon buys fucking TikTok and now TikTok and Twitch become one and the same, and I don't even know how that would work. Are we going to have to start doing vertical streaming on Twitch? And I mean, I would love to see like the subscription and like emotes and stuff come to TikTok. That'd be kind of awesome. I still don't want Amazon to buy TikTok. That's just me like, hey, YouTube, can you change your live streaming so I actually have a benefit to, you know, dual streaming? Because I love the community aspect of Twitch, but YouTube kinda sometimes has better discoverability. It really, who knows? Anyways, the streaming is already oversaturated to hell and discoverability is asinine. And on top of that, TikTok was one of the ways a lot of streamers got discovered to the point that they could get to partner. Elon Musk took over Twitter and that was a gaming home for a lot of people, and now we've got Blue Sky, but still a lot of people haven't fully moved to Blue Sky yet, and I can only imagine what people are going to try to do to that platform. Thank God it's not right-wing nonsense like Twitter is. So you lose your gaming community. Then you've got the games that are coming out, right? The Nintendo Switch Direct, Mario Kart World was nice, Donkey Kong was nice, but a lot of that Direct was, here's how we're gonna make you pay more for games you already own, or already could own, right? Little DLC upgrade to something like Mario Party Jamboree, or a little graphics upgrade to Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, because they ran like ass. Why would you create a game for a platform you knew couldn't handle it if your intention wasn't just to upsell people anyways? So there's that. There's not really anything when it came to like state of play for PlayStation. There's not any good games coming out there. Steam, some indies have come out with some good ones like Repo lately. It's one of my favorite games to watch, but none of the games are really screaming at me, right? You don't have the nostalgia that Nintendo typically relies on in that direction. Mario Kart World is about as close as you get to nostalgia farming, if you will, and maybe Pokemon Legends. But even then, like, yes, Arceus had a huge gameplay, because I started streaming around the time Arceus came out, and that was how I built a chunk of my original initial community to hit affiliate, was playing Pokemon. And I plan on going back to kind of my Nintendo Disney routes, because those are the games I enjoy playing, honestly. Like, yes, I enjoy Batman and I enjoy some of my Steam games like Repo and like maybe playing Among Us with communities and things like that. But I don't enjoy streaming those games really, because I get frustrated with them. So there's that. But the state of the gaming industry is interesting because I want to support more indies and I can't. Now, most of the indie game developers are on Steam, which is why I bought a PC and I wanted to be able to get into the modding community, which half the time modders do better than the original game devs, which is insane to me, right? We're talking about, you know, like Pokemon games, right? Some of the ROM hacks are better than the actual games themselves, and that's crazy to me. Pokemon seems to be putting one of the biggest gaming communities probably on the planet, and they're putting more effort into their little like pocket phone games than they are into their actual console games, and that's That's crazy. That is just insane to me that they would make that decision. Like, hey, let's invest in mobile. Square Enix did something similar for a while where they were just purely investing in mobile that most people didn't even know about, and people were just getting annoyed because they constantly wanted Kingdom Hearts 3 updates, and when is it releasing? That game, when it comes to release, is worse than freaking GTA 6. You constantly got it teased at you and then never got it released. And then it finally did release. We were all thinking, oh, this is the last game in the Kingdom Hearts series. No. Or the main series, right? Obviously, there's 500 different spin-off games. But we thought 3 was the main story conclusion. Nope. They're doing a 4, which we haven't yet seen teased. And it's going to be 20 years. I'm going to be in my 50s before I finish playing the Kingdom Hearts series. And I'm going to be teaching kids to play that game before I get to finish it. I swear. And I guess that's kind of the longevity. I started playing that game as a kid, and it's a cultural game. Anyways, the gaming industry is losing its mind thinking that people would pay $500 for a Nintendo Switch, $80, and people will pay it. That's the problem, is people will pay it. You won't see a Wii U-like failure with the Switch 2. You just won't. Even if we end up having to pay $600 fucking dollars for this thing because of the orange buffoon, we will buy it and we will pay for it because we are we are gamers. And a lot of us are also streamers who, are kind of content hinges on getting the new console, and being so many people who are Nintendo focused streamers hinge on the fact that they need to be one of the first to adopt. It's similar to like theme park vloggers, right? They need to be at opening day of all of these things, because if not, they lose their positioning in the content creation space, and that's not good. You have to be kind of first to the line, similar to, getting access to, in the gaming world right now, Alpharad's Mario Mon just went public, and I do want to play that. I probably will play it here in the future for a video, or maybe just play it because I'm interested in it. There's a couple different ROM hacks that I wanted to play, and that's one of them. But when it comes to, yes, Nintendo might be a little crazy, but they also damn well knew at a $500 price tag, specifically because of the discount you get with buying the bundle for Mario Kart World, people were buying it. And it is a logical progression for something like Mario Kart to go open world and have endurance races and things like that. To give a kid's version of, it's like the gateway drug to games like Forza and Need for Speed and things like that. It's not uncommon for racing games to go open world. That's not a new concept, so I wasn't really surprised by that. I think it's cool. I think it'll be a fun way to kind of make Mario Kart more playable rather than just racing all the same tracks over and over again. Like I said, I will still buy the damn thing, no matter what it costs. I might have to, sell my no, I won't sell my PC. I might have to sell an organ to buy the damn thing. And that's the problem, is Nintendo and even PlayStation and Microsoft, they did that with their consoles as well. No, we'll pay for it. And the $500 price tag didn't really surprise me, to be honest, because that was about what the other consoles were. The argument has always been that the Nintendo consoles are a weaker console in comparison to something like the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, but the reality is they're still all competitors, and you have to, match the market, if you will. So it didn't really surprise me, but if that thing goes up, we don't get pre-orders because of tariffs, and that thing goes up from $500, I might lose my mind. The gaming industry has become a corporate green machine, and there's not enough support for indies or small streamers or, I don't know. I feel like even Twitch's, new subscription updates are insane. And I don't know if that's just because of are they owned by Amazon? Is it a partnership with Amazon that lets you do the free primes or whatever? So I'm pretty sure streamers don't even get paid for primes, which is insane if you don't get any sort of revenue split for primes. I've never really paid attention if that's true or not, but I heard something related to that recently, which I feel like once you hit a level of partner on a platform like Twitch, especially if it's a an insane level, like a Hassan on something like Twitch, Twitch should be like paying you like a regular employee. You should be streaming on salary and not have to be peddling for subscriptions and merch and everything else. I feel like once you get to a point where your average viewership is something to the tune of, I mean, in Hassan's, it's like 40,000 viewers, which is insane. But also, when you get to around like 1,000 viewer average, you would think that maybe you earn some level of salary for the time you spend on their platform to maintain your exclusivity with them. And I know that's why Twitch used to have like partner contracts that deciphered your different pay levels and whatever, but and exclusivity contracts as well. But still don't think even back then they treated their partners well enough. Because, right, with content creators, not just streamers are content creators, but with YouTubers, you have AdSense that is, you know, based on the video performance or whatever, and your sponsorship, but your sponsorships are guaranteed, whereas with, you know, a lot of Twitch sponsorships, they're not, and your viewership's not guaranteed. It's just, if you're bringing that much to the platform, that you have that type of audience, and they should be, you know, treating you like royalty, in my opinion. And I've seen that kind of treatment for certain YouTubers that bring in a lot for the platform, and you would think Twitch would do the same. And then you've got like competitors like Kick who just don't moderate, and the gaming industry is a cesspool, and we might lose Discord in amongst all of these, you know, crazy bans against things that aren't owned by American companies. And God, Lord help us if we lose Discord, because I don't think gamers know how to communicate in the real world without Discord, myself included. That's not a jab. That is a literal, like, I love Discord. I don't love Facebook. I don't like the other options. Discord, Telegram, Slack, all of the other options that come to like building communities online. Discord is my preferred method, and I've known that for a very long time. As has most of the gaming community. It's why it is as prevalent as it is, and that is also why a large majority of us are in like 80,000 Discords. So, the gaming industry has lost its damn mind. Nintendo might be punishing US consumers due to Orange Buffoon's tariff plan, which I swear to God, if I don't get a Switch 2 around launch because I couldn't pre-order, I am going to fucking lose it with this administration. I've tried to be so level-headed and let them cook, if you will, just to see if he really can do anything good. No study or scientist or economist or really anyone with a brain supported anything he had to say on the campaign trail. But you know what? Let him cook. Let the administration cook and see what happens, because I don't agree that what tag you wear is the indicator of good or bad. There was lots that said Trump was bad going into this administration that had nothing to do with policy, but at the end of the day, government is policy. So let the policy cook. It's been about 2 months, and none of it's cooking. It's only continuing to ruin us all unless you have the money to buy a ton of fucking stocks, as he literally tanks the stock market all the time. I thought there was a glimpse of good for a minute when my gas prices were really low. That's not directly related to the Orange Buffoon, but also it went immediately back up almost instantaneously. It lasted at low prices for maybe a week, and then, you know, all the tariffs and everything else started being talked about once again, and, you know, we're back up into the mid $3. And I like gaming. I like having fun money to spend on video games. With my Steam, I hunt for Steam sales. I never buy anything for full price on Steam because everything goes on sale at some point or another. I just wishlist everything and I buy it when it's cheap. But when it comes to console games, and genuinely speaking, if it's a game that I can play anywhere on any console, I'm probably gonna buy it on Steam just for the convenience factor. But I also don't want to buy a Steam Deck because that's not why I buy a Nintendo console. I love the Mario Karts and the 3D Marios and the Mario Parties and those types of Nintendo games and Pokemon and things like that you can't play on a PC really. So having a Steam Deck wouldn't do me any good. But I don't know. Y'all, how do you feel about the gaming industry? Because I feel like it's failing just as bad as the fitness industry is. They've lost the fucking plot point, especially Nintendo. Nintendo is mostly, I know I made fun of the people that said Nintendo are for kids, but the reality is their target market in comparison to something like PlayStation or Xbox is a younger community. Yes, there are your diehard Nintendo adults, if you will, that have grown up with it and refuse to leave it behind, myself included in that, but a large majority of the games are built for a younger generation until you start looking into, this Switch 2 Bloodborne exclusive to, I guess, capture the Elden Ring types in a Nintendo console, which is wild to me. But, maybe it's their version of trying to compete with the Steam Deck. I don't know. I'm not marketing at Nintendo. However, I do think it's slightly absurd to think that, you're going to get Elden Ring players to suddenly come play on something like a Nintendo Switch. That's not the type of gamers they are, but it is what it is, I guess. Nintendo still has a large market without that market coming to their console. And alienating your US people, I get why they have to do it, and yeah, I get it. The world stage needs to take a stand against the bullying that the US is trying to do them right now. Totally get it from a geopolitical stance, but as a US consumer, I'm fucking pissed. I just want my little Switch 2 console, and I don't want it to cost more than selling an organ. And yeah, $500 was a steep price tag to begin with, but it wasn't something I couldn't afford right that moment. If pre-orders had dropped the minute the direct was over, which they didn't, but had that happened, I would have been fine. I would have been able to buy the console and move on with my life. But that is not the case here, and unfortunately, I am staring down the barrel of a very long attempt at trying to get one on launch day. And it took me, not pre-ordering my PlayStation 5, it took me, I think, a month and a half of stalking every possible drop that every possible location that was selling the thing to get mine. And that was during 2020, where I had nothing better to do with my life because I was working from home and I could stalk all of the group chats and whatnot for things that gave me an idea of when I was going to be able to get the console. I also had to help someone else get their console. So yeah, I am going to struggle if we don't get pre-orders, because I am one of those people that like the challenge of ordering things that are limited, but also I wanted to make it easy this time around. I want my Switch 2. I use my Switch daily, even if I'm not streaming or I'm not creating content. I literally use it in handheld mode, just walking, before I go to bed to wind down or whatever. It hurts me that the US market might get alienated from this Nintendo Switch release in a way that, not only will hurt content creators that need to be at the forefront of this release, but it will also hurt, young gamers that was really looking forward to some of these new games that come out on launch. Yes, you will be able to eventually get it, but at what cost? And, it's all just a bunch of petty a petty trade war, because the orange buffoon needs to have things his way, I guess. And who knows, by the time everything happens, by the time pre-orders actually start for the Nintendo Switch, because they haven't started at the time of recording this, by the time they actually start, all of this could go away. But right now, I am very angry. Very, very angry. Because we just finally got information on the Nintendo Switch 2, and then Liberation Day happened, and now the console might not be available to us for pre-orders, and to some extent, we don't know if we are going to get release on time either because of all of this. They seem to be firm in the fact that they are not delaying release, but who's to say they won't? And I hate the fact that the orange buffoon is literally holding so many of the industries I love hostage right now. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy to me, because the CHIPS Act that was put into work. I'm not sure how far they really got with it, but it was definitely, being worked under the Biden administration that would allow some of these consoles and graphics cards and things like that to be built here and be more available, or at least work towards having those things available here rather than purely on import, and make it a little bit easier for the gaming industry to be able to create awesome stuff when it comes to the hardware side of the gaming industry. That was shot down for seemingly no reason other than I said so because I don't like what the past administration did. Now, because all of that work has been halted, not that we would have a perfect solution in, a year or whatever it was, not only do we not have anything working towards a solution anymore, we're also going to have to deal with if something breaks in our PC, we're fucked. I just built my PC and it was not a cheap adventure, but if the most expensive thing in my PC broke, which is my graphics card, or it gets to the point where I am, the games I'm playing are too too intensive and my computer starts crashing on me, I don't know that A, I'm going to be able to find the components I need to fix my computer at a decent price. And B, if, even building a PC is going to be affordable. All this administration keeps talking about is Apple, and Apple's investing into the US manufacturing market because of these tariffs and blah, blah, blah. Don't get me wrong, I'm an Apple nerd too, but Apple is not meant for gamers. There is no computer for Apple that really stands and holds even a piece of paper to my PC. It has its uses, all Apple machines do, and they're mostly for creatives. I love editing on my Mac. I don't love creating on my Mac. When it comes to gaming content and podcasting and everything else, I'll take all of the files I create on my PC because it handles things like OBS so much better and edit them on my Mac. That's what I do. And at the end of the day, the gaming industry's fucked with all of this. We will not see anything good come out of the gaming industry under this current administration if things keep going the way that they're going to go. We won't see new consoles after the Switch for a very long time. We won't see new graphics cards updates for a very long time. And if we do, they're going to be obscenely expensive and outpriced to the majority of the hobbyist gamer. And you really only will see those influencer types being able to purchase those items. And I don't want, gaming is already kind of a salary or financial exclusionary, if you will, just because of how expensive, buying consoles or buying PCs or buying PC parts or, buying the games themselves. That hobby as a whole is expensive, and adding all of this extra tariff shit to it kills the industry. On top of that, you've got things like AI art and AI code that are kicking people out of the industry from a workforce perspective, and indies not getting the love that they need to be able to continue to finish their games. I'm sad for the gaming industry, but I'm also mad for myself as a consumer in the gaming industry, and even more mad for myself as a small business owner in the gaming industry, because the streaming market is going to get extremely oversaturated with the loss of certain social media platforms. If that does happen, you've got a level of control over the gaming industry when it comes to platforms you can choose to be a creator on, and if you don't agree with that platform's views on things, you could be immediately ejected. I mean, look at the Ethan Klein versus Hassan saga, where Ethan Klein's literally attacking Twitch for not banning Hassan. And, that environment is so volatile when it comes to having your own opinion in the political space, right? You've got that. You've got, the inability to access hardware to continue to improve your content. Because my microphone is from Australia. It's a company in Australia. I have another mic from them as well. That's going to be tariffed. I'm sure Elgato, I don't think is a US based company either. I mean, if they are, they still rely heavily on imports to build a lot of their stuff. So the gaming industry from a tech perspective, it's not just consoles and PCs. It's all of our peripherals and, our keyboards and our mechanical keys that we all love to type with, and our lighting and our cameras, right? It's sad. Because see a future where so many creators are going to start to leave the space because they just simply can't afford to keep up with it anymore. Even if they are making good money from platforms like YouTube or Twitch, they need to be at the forefront of buying the new stuff, is going to consume, or buying the newest game and playing that. Yes, it is all business expenses, but at the end of the day, it's still an expense. And I foresee not only people dropping out of the hobby because they can no longer afford it, but also losing a lot of our favorite creators because they can no longer afford to run a business under the current structure. Because I mean, a large majority of the gaming industry isn't US owned, US based. There's a large possibility we lose a lot of our favorite development companies based on the similar law that could be banning TikTok. The gaming industry is a scary place to be living in as a creator right now because it is very uncertain. From a being priced out on hardware and games to, are they going to try to shut down platforms like Twitch because they don't agree with the way people communicate on that platform? I know that's an extremism level that would take a hot minute, but not something I would put past this administration at this point. Are they going to try to take Discord down because of Signalgate? Because in the past, classified information has been leaked on Discord. It is wild. The fitness industry is being held hostage by RFK Jr. and any decisions he makes really does impact the fitness industry. And the gaming industry is essentially being held hostage by the tariffs and a lot of indie developers are essentially small businesses. So if they can't afford, due to, barreling into a potential recession, if not currently in a recession where people aren't spending money on hobbies, you don't have money to spend on your game, and you can't do something like a Kickstarter because people have no platform to give you money. You might lose not only content creators, hobbyists, developers, also realistically a lot of software developers and engineers throughout time have not been US citizens. So the potential of a lot of our gaming industry's core people, not saying this to be fact, but I've met a large majority of the software engineers I've met are here on student visas or work visas or things like that. They're not here permanently as residents. And the brightest bunch when it comes to software, especially tech, in the tech world, most of them are H-1B visa holders, and the advancement needed to continue to grow the gaming industry is being held hostage by immigration law and tariffs and developers having to either build woke pieces of game or non-woke pieces of game, or not being able to, see a game be successful because the owner of the original IP is a nitwit on the internet. It's the political space is affecting gaming in extreme way. And I mean, yes, art in and of itself and gaming is an art form, or game development is an art form in and of itself. I get it. Art is inherently political and you can say a lot through a video game and its story, but at the same time, the industry is falling apart because of all of these political decisions, and I hopefully will see some new advancement. But at the same time, I think some of these bigger companies like Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft are trying to read their hobbyists for filth and rely solely on, content creators that can sell their story for them. It's a sad day to see such an amazing hobby, right? Where are our handheld, yes, the Switch is going to be a handheld console on top of a console, but also where are the smaller handheld things? I loved the 3DS, but I still owned a PlayStation, I owned a Wii, a 3DS, and a PlayStation all at the same time. The smaller consoles like Game Boy Advance were awesome, and we don't have that anymore. It's all in our phone, and I don't want to stare at my phone on a plane the whole time because it'll die. Again, I want to see something innovative from the game industry, and I don't see that right now. I see churn. It's the same thing with entertainment in the movie industry. Live action remakes and sequels, and nothing's really innovative and creative. And I think the gaming industry is falling victim to that as well, on top of all of, the hardware issues and development issues when it comes to, IP owners or people saying stupid shit on the internet or leaking or not having funding or whatever it is. The gaming industry is being held hostage by politics, as is the fitness industry. Really, any industry can be held hostage by the current geopolitical status of the world, but these are the ones I'm in, and this was kind of my rant about the gaming industry. And the reality is yes, $500 for a Nintendo Switch is kind of ridiculous, and it's probably going to go up from there thanks to the Orange Buffoon. But I will still buy it. There is nothing that would stop me from buying the Nintendo Switch 2, unless I just like go broke, and then even then I would buy it eventually. I might not buy it at release, but then I would still buy it eventually. And that's the problem. And I understand that that is the problem, that there are a large majority. It's the same thing with like Disney and Universal. As long as we keep buying the tickets, they're gonna keep raising the prices, and it's a fight. Because I don't want to support their craziness. But at the same time, I love these companies. And I love what they put out. Even if it's not a perfect solution, right? I still genuinely enjoy interacting with these types of things. And yes, there are plenty of people that will protest it because of the price. But I'm not one of those people. I'm just not. If I like something, I'm going to put my money behind it no matter how much it costs. Because at the end of the day, you could lose these things. And you want to be able to support big or small. I prefer supporting small companies, which is why I love like indie developer games and things like that. I tried to support smaller games that you don't hear about as much, especially in the Steam environment where it's a little bit easier to kind of discover these indie games. But when it comes to hardware, there's not really a support small, if you will. You're buying AMD, or you're buying Nvidia, you're buying not Logitech, you're buying Corsair, or you're buying, I don't know, I can't think of other companies right now. Intel or AMD. You get the point. There's not a buy small in the hardware space, and there's not a buy small in the console space either. And I mean, Steam Deck is probably about as buy small as it gets, and that's not buying small. In my life, I try to practice buy small, but in my industries, and even with, you know, the fitness space, the supplement company I work with, Advanced, which I talked about in a previous episode, and I'm going to show this guy again because he's awesome. They're a small, gamer-focused supplement company, and I chose them because not only are they gamer-focused, but they're small and they intend to stay small. I'd like to support something like that versus a Monster or a Red Bull, or even, don't get me wrong, I love an Alani Nu, but they're getting to a point where they're a large company now. At least a well-known one. I don't know from a business structure if they're large or not, but you know, I'm not going to support a Legion or a Ghost or all the people that are in GNC when I have the opportunity to support a better product from a small company. That doesn't really happen much in the gaming industry unless you're, you know, buying a custom controller or something like that. And even then, that's risky. You kind of just have to deal with the big companies and, you know, put a stance where you can, I guess. And the gaming industry is somewhere right now. I can't really describe it, to be honest, because I feel like it's falling apart, and we might be seeing the fall of the gaming and console industry. And I don't know where we would go. I feel like there is always going to be gamers, but maybe things will start to return to a Call of Duty boom price range and not obscene prices for very little tech upgrades. Maybe we'll start to see, you know, innovative gaming tech upgrades and innovative things that are not just throw slop together to make money. At least that's what I hope for the industry. But that was my little rant on the gaming industry, and I appreciate y'all for being here. If you've had any experience with the gaming industry, or if you're mad about the Nintendo pre-order thing, feel free to comment below and we can talk about it, because I'm very angry about that. I want the console, and if I can't get pre-orders at the time, I repeat, at the time of recording, that seems to be they are delaying it indefinitely for US customers, and I'm pissed the fuck off because of that. And, you know, Nintendo stood their ground, and Japan stood their ground because Nintendo is their property or whatever. And I get that, but as a US consumer, I didn't want this. Why? Not all of us are idiots. Let me have my Switch too. Can I go to Japan and buy it directly from you? I will gladly pay for the flight to Japan to get my console on time. Can we not region lock consoles so I don't have to pay the price of these idiots? Yeah, that was my chaos, and a lot of fuckery is going on in the gaming industry right now, so I hope you follow along. And if you are interested in that kind of stuff, as well as the fitness industry and other little rants about small business and business in general, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit a like, leave a comment down below of your chaos and your fuckery, and I hope welcome to the chaos, and I hope you enjoyed the fuckery.